Today we're covering the UFC betting scandal that I believe is fake. It is completely fake, in my opinion. My opinion, it's fake. I have to let you all know that because the UFC might try sue me. But did you know the previous betting scandal, which was Molina and Minner, the James Krause situation, nothing happened. Despite Dana White talking about the FBI and the IC 360 and all the regulators, nothing happened criminally to Minner and nothing happened to Molina. Nothing happened. And they've done interviews since then saying that. And in fact, Minner's actually fought this year and they've not been charged with anything, despite what Dana White was saying. And now I believe that Dana White is throwing Dulgarian under a bus. I don't believe what they're selling, because Dana White is telling you all these things. But why? You're probably thinking, why? Why would he do that? Well, we're going to break it all down. We're going to go through everything. And there's a reason. And why do you think? Who are they sponsored by? Who would they get sanctioned by? Like, the MMA world and the MMA fan base lately, it's got so many morons and idiots, but not my fan base. Not if you subscribe to me, Brutally Honest MMA. I believe that you know the truth. You're not stupid. You're not an idiot. But if you aren't subscribed to me, you probably are. So you better hit that subscribe button right now so you're not an idiot. Right, we're going to break this down. So, an article on Yahoo Sports where Molina discussed and Minner both discussed their parts in what happened and how nothing has happened in the 3 years since they got suspended. And what did they get suspended for? Fight fixing? No, they didn't. They got suspended for failing to disclose an injury before the fight. Now, TJ Dillashaw didn't disclose an injury before the fight, which was the same year. In fact, I think it was a month before the Minner fight, before Minner lost and got suspended. It was TJ Dillashaw was a month prior, and he went into the fight without disclosing an injury, and he never got suspended. And you're probably thinking, yeah, but he retired. Well, he didn't retire until the December. And the only reason that they cared about it, the Minner fight, is because the lines moved, the betting lines moved, and all these suspicions happened around it. And maybe it leaked, maybe it did, but maybe it didn't. Maybe Minner is innocent. The UFC don't care either way. They go and threaten with these fake investigations from the FBI, allegedly, like in my opinion, this is that Minner's under investigation for a criminal activity. Okay, so what has actually happened? So, as for the rumors that the FBI was preparing to throw Molina in jail, no, Molina said in April 2025 in an interview with Alwani, dude, I never realized that old fake news narrative, how effing true that is. Journalists were tweeting Jeff Molina's house got raided and his computer's taken and blah, blah, blah. None of that stuff ever happened, man. I'm sure there was an investigation done, but as far as I know, I never got a call from anybody. Not any party. If anything, I had to make the calls to try and get this resolved. So no one called him. No one investigated him. He didn't get taken in for questioning. Nothing happened. And the same happened with Minner. Minner did an interview. It's here. Check the article out. Oh, this one's on. They ripped this off. Whatever. It's on MMA Mania. So if you want, go check this out. It has videos of the interviews. So we got an interview with Minner. I think it was the Mark Davis interview. Go check it out because he talks about it extensively. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. He denies these allegations. The only thing he was guilty of is going in the fight with an injury, which many fighters do. Most recently, Ankalaev and Alex Pereira both went into Ankalaev won. Pereira went in with an injury, didn't disclose it. The second fight, Ankalaev, the UFC, he had the rib injuries in his training camp, didn't disclose it. None of these are suspended. So why is Minner getting suspended? Because they've thrown him under the bus because of the... Right. the UFC's main partnerships are with betting companies. And if they get sanctioned and the sport, the UFC, gets sanctioned for potential, bet fixing, fight fixing, they'll be in a lot of trouble. They'll get sanctioned. The brand reputation comes down. And then they lose partnerships. And they could stop MMA betting altogether. So betting on the UFC is massive for them. It's a big part of their revenue stream. In the US, they have DraftKings. And in the UK, they have Bet365. They've got other partnerships with betting companies. So do they want that happening? No, in my opinion. In my opinion, no, of course they're not. So are they going to throw a fighter under the bus like Minner? Yes, they are. They're going to throw him under the bus. They're going to sabotage his career. And did you know, though, Minner fought this year. After 3 years, they've not got in contact. He's not being, no criminal activity. No criminal activity. He's not being charged with anything. The FBI haven't been in touch. And here, on the wiki page, subsequently, both Minner and his coach, James Krause, as well as Molina, were indefinitely suspended by Nevada State Athletic Commission for failing to disclose the injury Minner had sustained prior to the fight. Not for bet fixing. Not for fight fixing. No. And look at this on his record. He's got a recent loss against Brock Hamer at Dynasty Combat Sports 99 in 2025, June. A few months ago he was fighting. So nothing ever happened. Was there really an FBI investigation? Well, according to all the Krause team, no investigation. So now Dulgarian's under the hot seat. He's been cut from the UFC. Dana White's threatening things. Let's have a look what Dana White's threatening.
We're with a company called IC360, and they're
IC360. They're investigators, betting investigators.
Are the best bet monitoring company in the business. They reached out to us and they told us that there was some unusual action going on with that fight. Do we know anything?
Unusual. Again, they're using these words, unusual. But nothing's confirmed. No, it's not like they're saying, oh, well, there's definitely something wrong. Maybe the lines just moved. Maybe they did. Maybe something came out about an injury or something. And that happens. It happens in sports. But it is suspicious. So, yes, do an investigation. But I don't think these investigations are real. It's just the UFC need a scapegoat. And they need to throw someone under the bus every now and again. Just to keep the sanctions away, just to keep the betting companies sweet. It's just, it works for the UFC. They really don't care whether Dulgarian is innocent or not. I mean, the fact that they've cut him already without an investigation says a lot to me. Because think about this. Well, we'll let Dana White say it first, and then I'll say what I'm going to say.
We didn't. So what we did was we called the fighter and his lawyer. And
he called the fighter and his lawyer. Right, so he called Dulgarian and his lawyer.
Said, what's going on? There's some weird action going on in your bet. Weird betting action going on in your fight. Are you injured? Do you owe anybody money? Has anybody approached you to, and the kid said, no, absolutely.
So are you injured? Has anyone approached you? And do you owe any money? No. So how mad and crazy would it be now for Dulgarian to go and throw a fight? If that was the case, if he's fight fixing, how crazy would he be after Dana White, the UFC president, asks him to his face prior to the fight, are you going to throw this fight? Are you injured? Is anyone threatening you? Do you owe any money to anyone? And his answer was no. But then he goes and throws the fight. Do you know how crazy that sounds? How more ludicrous that sounds, in my opinion. This is all, in my opinion, what I think's going on. So, why would he do that? Why he's under? He knows now. If he was fight fixing, he knows now that, hang on, people have got eyes on me. But what's interesting? What's really interesting to me is, in the fight, DC constantly The UFC knew before that something was wrong before the fight, and they decided not to pull the fight. They chose to keep the fight on. And then on top of it, what was weird during the fight, when he had his back taken, Dulgarian was getting choked. He was fishing for the hand. He got the hand and he pulled it down. But DC, the commentary and all the media, the UFC puppets that are around Chael Sonnen, DC, all of them, they were saying the same thing, the same narrative that was being spun. They were saying he didn't hand fight. DC kept going, he's not hand fighting, he's not hand fighting. But he was stripping the top hand and pulling it down. And he kept saying it over and over, trying to make all the audience, all you gullible people that'll just believe anything that anyone tells you. Oh, I like DC, I like Guru, so I'm just going to regurgitate the same BS over and over. If Guru said it, it's got to be true. And Guru says a lot of things, but some are right, some are wrong, and his opinion's his opinion. But when fans regurgitate the same stuff just because someone said it that they like and they verbatim say it, it's disgusting. Have your own mind, have your own opinion. And if you agree with them, fair enough, but don't regurgitate the same stuff over and over. And I'm seeing this with what's happened here. Loads of fans regurgitating what DC was saying. Oh, he wasn't on to fight fix. It's a betting scandal. Use your brain a little bit. And I could be wrong. This is an opinion, but I don't think I am, because it was interesting how DC kept saying it. He's not hand fighting when he was hand fighting. He was hand fighting. He was peeling the top hand. Was he doing it as effectively as he could have? No, there's bits that I questioned. But to say he wasn't hand fighting at all is beyond belief. That is not true. That is not true. DC was lying. He was completely lying. And it's interesting that he was saying these things because they don't usually say these things. When other fighters aren't hand fighting, they don't tend to say these things. It was almost like someone had pre-prepped him to engage that discussion. I wonder who. Do you think it could be the president who knew about the potential fight fixing, that called the fighter prior to the fight happening and asked him to his face whether he was going to throw the fight, whether he had injuries, and whether he owed anyone money? I wonder if it was that guy. I really do wonder if it was the president of the UFC who knew this information prior to the fight and did not disclose it, and furthermore, did not pull the fight despite suspicions, and he let the fight go ahead. Now, how does that look for the UFC? Oh no, that's not good for the sanctioning. Let's just throw Dulgarian under the bus. That's what's happened. And interestingly, he gave an interview to TMZ Sports. None of the MMA media that turn up there week in, week out. No, he didn't. He chose TMZ Sports to leak this news to. Pre-recorded video that he'd just give to TMZ Sports. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. This is an opinion. It's all an opinion. And everyone's allowed to disagree. But in my opinion, I think the UFC are trying to protect the brand. And I think they're trying to... I don't think there's any FBI investigations going on. Dana White said he's gone straight to the FBI. Let's listen to that bit.
Absolutely not. I'm going to kill this guy. And so we said, okay, the fight plays out. And first round finish by rear naked choke. Literally, the first thing we did was call the FBI. So
the first thing that he did was call the FBI. I do not believe it. In my opinion, I do not believe it that the FBI are going fully investigate this. If they haven't investigated Molina, Krause, and Minner after 3 years, why is there going to be a criminal investigation over there? There isn't. Minner's still fighting. He fought recently. There's going to be no court filings. There's going to be nothing. And Molina said no one's contacted him in 3 years. Mina's competing. No case, no follow-up, no nothing. It's just nothing. So, because the reputation, it's just reputation management for the UFC. The UFC needed to avoid the suspicion that any fight fixing was taking part. So what could happen? What could happen if this happened? The athletic commissions and sportsbooks would suspend UFC betting, demanding they could demand regulatory audits, and they could block UFC events in certain states. It could disrupt broadcast deals, shake investor confidence, scare sponsors, and damage the UFC brand during the growth era, which is the new corporate growth era that we're in. So that is my feeling. That is more towards the realism of what's going on during this UFC betting scandal. The investigation, it wasn't real. The root issue was never resolved, and there's no criminal proof. No criminal proof exists. Otherwise, surely Minner, Krause, Molina, all these guys would be in prison right now, but they're not. And it's the same again with Dulgarian, the Dulgarian case. There's no proof. They just over-punish individuals to shine a spotlight on it and under-investigate what's happening. And it's a systemic issue. It's a systemic issue because the UFC is open to this. Like, if injuries do get leaked. So, like, it's open. Like, if a fighter is in a fight camp and someone in that fight team sees something, they can leak this knowledge and information. It is a systemic issue that's happening. And the UFC are trying to cover it up by punishing and sacrificing individual fighters. And that's why they released him straight away without any investigation, allowed public condemning him. It was a loud and public display of condemnation, and there's no transparency on this investigation that is currently taking place, which has taken place for 3 years over the Krause situation. Because what's happening? There should be transparency in this investigation if this investigation is real. I just don't think it is. Personally, I do not think it is. I think it's a load of bullshit that the UFC have concocted just to avoid sanctions, to keep them sponsors happy. Because half the sponsors are betting companies. Why would they want to damage that reputation by a full-on investigation, a proper investigation that looks like, oh, there could be a systemic issue here. The UFC is wide open to betting scandals. We're wide open, and it is wide open to betting scandals and corrupt fight fixing and stuff like that. It is wide open, just like boxing, but the UFC more so. And this is why I believe that this is just a cover-up. In my opinion, it's a cover-up, and I've got to say these things so I don't get sued. My opinion. It's just an opinion. Don't sue me, Dana. Don't sue me. But I think you're full of shit. I think you're full of fucking shit. Anyway, like, subscribe, and yeah. Think for yourself, because the evidence is there. It's right there in front of you. Stay brutal.